please call the roll.
May you please use your tablets for roll call. Commissioner Scott,
Present.
Commissioner Baker McCormick,
Here.
Commissioner Marecki.
Here.
Commissioner Clementi,
Present.
Commissioner Anderson,
Here.
Vice Chair Baydoun,
Present.
Chair Kinlock.
Present.
We have a quorum present.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda.
Next item B, Chair's remarks.
The only thing I have to say is to ask for the committee members to be on notice that there may be a possible Ways and Means committee meeting 9:30 on Tuesday. So there's a possibility that we may have to take an action prior to the commission meeting. Yep, prior to
Full board.
full board. Yes.
Quick, we have a zoo authority.
Oh, yeah, it's gonna be
Okay.
very quick.
All right.
It should be just possibly a slur.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, it should be just one item.
Okay.
Yeah,
9:30.
9:30. Okay, next item on the agenda.
Item C, approval of the minutes from the November 28th.
Motion is in
2023
order.
meeting.
So moved.
Been moved
Support.
and supported. Please vote. So we're using the devices, at least they are. Okay, yeah. Time.
7 weeks old.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And we will be taking all of the remaining items. We'll take all the remaining items at the end of the agenda. Keeping in mind that items 1 and 2 1 through 5 are receiving files.
Okay.
Okay. Next item.
Item D, unfinished business. There is unlisted. Moving to item E1 under new business. Communication, forwarding a report regarding the transfer of funds to the Wayne County Land Bank.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to ask the county treasurer, Mr. Eric Sabri, and his team to come up. As always, please state your name and your office.
I'm Eric Sabri, and Wayne County Treasurer.
Good morning, afternoon rather, LaShonda Thomas, contractor with Wayne County Treasurer.
Thank you. Okay, under the communication, which is the report from you regarding funds transfer to the first, I guess, report. There's a few reports that are here and wanted you to briefly touch on each of the reports.
Okay, if you have any questions along the way, just interrupt. But basically, the first one is regarding the land bank, transfer funds to the land bank. That's pretty simple. We once the land bank takes properties that are not sold in the auction, we transfer funds to the land bank for maintenance and upkeep of the properties. And if we did not transfer the properties to the land bank, we would have to do that maintenance and upkeep ourselves.
Mhm.
So we have a formula we use, and the land bank takes properties that are unsold, and we transfer funds to them so that we don't have to do the work ourselves.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, can you please just read into the record items 1 through 5 as relates to the reports? Thank you.
Sure. Item 2, communication for the report on the status of reconciling the undistributed taxes to ensure that the local governments in the county are able to receive funds in a timely manner. Item 3, communication forwarding a report on the impact of the recent Michigan Supreme Court ruling will have on the delinquent tax revolving fund. 4, communication forwarding a report on the delinquent tax revolving funds. Item 5, communication forwarding the 2022 property sales proceeds report in accordance with the statutory requirements contained in section 211.78M. And number 6 is a resolution.
Correct. Okay. I'll have you read that after we go over. Okay, so first would like to ask, you heard the clerk read into the record what each of these reports are for. I'd like to ask the commissioners, do you have any questions relevant to reports under items 1 through 5? Commissioner Marecki.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, would you mind if the treasurer just hit on each
Yeah, so
report?
hit on all the rest of the reports. You identified what the report was for one, and then you can identify the other four.
Okay, yeah, the second one, number two is the status of reconciling undistributed taxes to each of the local communities. I don't know if Ms. Thomas wants to mention the
Yeah, so-
details.
Yeah, so again, I can walk through this. So basically, as of September 30th, 2023, the amount of taxes collected and unreconciled amounted to $151 million. The last portion of those taxes collected were reconciled and distributed on October 23, 2023. Taxes received for distribution after September 23 and October 31 have been processed and are currently awaiting approval of vouchers at accounts payable. So this was more of a timing issue. We run the distribution twice a month. So because of timing is why you had a delay there. Okay, any questions?
Okay, I know in the past there was some issues as it relates to the reconciling. So reconciliation, I guess, processes. So you've addressed those issues from the past.
Yeah, the reconciling items primarily were because of timing differences in terms of when the cash is coming in and when we disperse those out.
Any questions regarding this report? Commissioner Baydun.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You mentioned that 151 million went back to the cities in Wayne County, correct?
Yes.
For taxes collected.
Mhm.
Can you elaborate, was this amount for which years? Like for the delinquent taxes, for example, for 21, 22, that were not paid at the local level and then they got transferred to Wayne County?
No, this is, so when you have tax collections, we collect current taxes in
Okay,
from the cities, and then we disperse those back to various taxing authorities like Zoo, for example, or, other cities and things of that nature. So that's what we are collecting. And you have a 14-day turnaround process. So it could be delinquent to the extent that we did collect some of those, but it does not relate to the notes that we provide to the cities for their delinquent taxes as of March 1st.
These are current taxes that are being
Yeah.
collected.
current
Mhm.
taxes, okay.
Yeah,
that's-
Were you
that's-
responsible for collecting and distributing to the various
Yeah.
taxing
Yes.
authorities?
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the number three,
Okay, well,
I'm sorry.
we have another
Oh,
question.
okay.
Commissioner McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Treasurer, for being here today. The properties that were transferred to the land bank,
Yes.
how many properties did this current cycle was transferred?
I
You
don't
know-
remember. I don't have
Okay.
the number, but it's, I can get that for you.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Because the auction, well, the last year's auction was completed. We transferred them in January. This auction is not yet completed. We have a special auction in December that we're finishing. So we'll transfer some properties in January of 2024 to the land bank. So I can get you the number for the transfer we did in January of last year. I don't know that number by heart.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was just wondering how many. Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions?
We on.
Okay, no, any additional, so we're on two, and so now I will ask you to go to item number 3, Mr. Treasurer.
Okay, number 3 is regarding, it says the impact of the recent Michigan Supreme Court ruling. This is the Raffaelli case, which said that if you get your property foreclosed, you would have a right to a claim of interest if the property is sold for more than the taxes and the expenses that we incur during the foreclosure process. You would be entitled to the excess proceeds. So the impact is that instead of the county retaining the money, the excess proceeds, this money could be distributed to taxpayers who lost their properties. So that's really.
And that case is still going on.
Mhm,
I
still
know
going
we have, we're having mediation discussion. We're in mediation regarding this case. And
Well, it's not this particular case. It's, see, the going forward, we've already gone through a cycle where we've actually paid claims to the taxpayers. So that the impact on the county is that the $1.7 million I think we paid last year would have gone to the county. But instead of it going to the county, it's gone back to taxpayers. Now, the mediation that's going on is regarding retroactivity. We're talking about whether we have to pay people who were foreclosed in previous years before the law changed, whether we have to pay them, and if so, how much. That's really what the litigation is really all about. And we had some litigation from people who are trying to claim that they want fair market value of their property instead of the actual proceeds that they lost, the actual taxes that they were owed, the surplus proceeds. So that's being litigated also.
Okay, so those are the still outstanding issues associated with the
Yes.
overarching case.
Right,
Yes, so those, yes,
It all goes back to that one case.
correct.
Yes.
Yeah, that's, yes.
It does.
Okay, so Commissioner Baker McCormick and then Commissioner Anderson.
Just to clarify, how many years are they looking at going back?
Depends on who the attorneys are.
Right.
Okay.
They want to go, some people want to go back to 2009 and,
Oh,
and some
wow.
people,
Okay.
and we're not quite willing to do that because, after all, it's taxpayers' money. And,
Thank you, Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Eric, thank you for being here and to be able to answer some of these questions. The Raphael case, so a portion of it has been settled, and that's why we're dispersing funds.
yes,
But it's now a question of, again, you said that it's a question of whether or not how far back they can go, and whether or not that you said is there no consolidation of all the claims or any attempt to
Well-
consolidate those by the court?
well, there's cases all over the state of Michigan.
Mhm.
And right now we have some classes have been certified. Some of them are being challenged. We're challenging a class certification ourselves because the plaintiff never lost their property. So we're challenging that in the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, federal court. So we're challenging the standing of someone who's suing us that had no standing to sue us. And they're supposed to be the leading person in the class.
Right.
So if the class is decertified, that means that we can go directly to the taxpayers and settle with them. But now if it's certified, we have to deal with the attorneys who are over the class. So it's a big deal for us,
Right.
Certification is important.
And the other question, so this is all connected to the Raphael case that
Yes.
that came down.
Mhm.
And I guess that's all I have, a couple of notes there. That's all. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Commissioner Badon.
Thank you, Mr. Silvery. Thank you for being here today. I had mentioned this to you prior. I have a friend who lives in Dearborn, who lost his house to the county. At the time, the city collected taxes for 2015, I believe, and he didn't know that the 2014 was not paid, and that's how he lost his home. So does this mean that he needs to file the claim right now? Does he have to hire an attorney to file the claim?
If he lost his property in 2023,
No, prior to that.
prior to that?
Yeah,
Oh,
this relates to the Raffaelli case.
yeah, he would have to get an attorney. Yeah.
So you need an attorney so he can file because the house was sold for a lot more than what it was foreclosed on.
This is part of the people who are looking retroactively.
Yeah,
And that's something that we're in. That's what mediation is all about. How far back we have to go, if we have to go back, and how much money.
so we can, okay. He needs to hire an attorney to start looking into this, I guess, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
to file a
yeah,
claim.
to file a
To file a
claim.
claim,
See
yeah.
what, even though it's late, this is what's going on right now. Litigation is going on. It's about retroactivity.
Okay,
So
thank you, Haj.
Okay, yes, Commissioner Anderson.
If I could. I remember there was another question, and that is the money that's being set aside. I know you had said at one time that you were setting aside some funds to be able to address some of these cases.
yes,
And do you have a report available about how much has been set aside and what's been dispersed from that fund? And so we can actually see what has been happening?
Well, what's been set aside, nothing's been dispersed from it because they're still in litigation.
Okay,
And so,
So
we
what-
do have a report that Ms. Thomas will be able to elaborate on a little bit.
Yeah.
okay,
We have like $113 million set aside
okay.
for those.
But I understood you to say that you were paying some out already.
Well, that's from the cases going forward.
Oh,
That's from the 2021, 2022, and 2023
okay,
going forward.
okay,
The money that we set aside is for anything that was happened before the law changed.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And just to
Okay,
be
okay,
clear to
okay.
that point,
Okay, go
Mr.
ahead.
Chair, so the monies that, the overages that are currently being paid,
Mhm.
they're being paid directly to the homeowners. Is
Directly
that what
to
you're
those who
saying?
filed the claims.
Yeah.
Yes,
Currently,
unless they hired an attorney to do the work for them.
Thank
Because they
Okay.
could have hired an attorney, but we pay whoever is representing them or them, the taxpayer themselves.
okay, so the taxpayers currently who say last year lost their home, you're setting aside those funds and then they have to file a claim to get those funds.
Right.
Yes.
And then we
Thank
have,
you.
what we have to do after the auction's over, we have to report to the state of Michigan what we sold the property for, how much was owed, our expenses, and we have to notify anyone who filed a claim of the same thing.
Okay.
So they can come forward,
Okay.
and they have to file a motion with Circuit Court, Wayne County Circuit Court. And so the judge will have to decide whether more than one person or entity that has a claim.
I see.
And if they have only, like one person has a claim and no one else has a claim, then they would receive the surplus. If there are more than one, then the judge would have to decide how much each claimant would get.
And is there a statute of time limitation to make that claim?
To make the claim, you have to make a claim, the initial claim between April 1st and July 1st of the year that the property is being foreclosed. So the foreclosure takes place March 31st.
Mhm.
Then you have to file a claim within 90 days. And if you don't file that claim, you can't go to circuit court. You're knocked out of the process.
And the funds revert back to the
To
county?
the county, yes.
Thank you. Before I call on Commissioner Scott and Baydun, this was a two-part budget instruction. The second part was for your requesting for you to provide an analysis of the impact foreclosure exemptions will have on the delinquent tax revolving fund, including the effect of amounts that could be transferred to the general fund. So what's the determination as it relates to that? And I know that you cited, the circuit court case, Third Circuit Court case in your response.
Yeah, we don't believe that any exemption, that there's no detrimental impact because of an extension. Now, you're talking about exemptions or extensions?
Okay, speak to both.
Well, exemptions are when someone is either 100% disabled from the military, a veteran, or their income is low enough that they don't have to pay taxes. Those are
Hardship.
two individuals that would be exempt from property tax. So if the exemptions from property tax increase, of course, everyone is going to get less money because the taxes, they're not going to be taxed at all. So it's going to impact every taxing jurisdiction, including Wayne County. That would be the impact. As exemptions increase, then the tax revenue will decrease because people are not paying property taxes.
Okay.
And that's really the basics for that. It's real simple. Less people that pay, less revenue we have. And if someone has an extension from one year to the next, then that would, it depends on how they perform in the year after the extension, because when they get an extension, they're supposed to continue paying either in a payment plan or periodic payments. They're taken out of foreclosure with an extension. But if they do come forward, maybe they take advantage of a program that can pay their taxes, Michigan Homeowner Assistance Fund or Pay As You Stay, they get the taxes paid. Then, of course, we get all our tax money. If they don't, then of course, then we have to sell their property. So we wouldn't know what the impact would be until the auction's over.
Okay, thank you. And so now we'll recognize Commissioner Scott and then Commissioner Baydun.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Treasurer and staff for being here. About how many claims have we paid out so far?
I don't know the number. Do you know? LaShawn?
I don't, but we can get that.
We can
answer
get
for
that
you.
answer easily for you.
Good
Yeah,
question.
we have it. Yeah.
Thank you.
And the dollar amount as well.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's 1.7 million this year,
Okay.
but
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Baydun.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair, for recognizing me. Mr. Sabri, I just want to make sure again, the homeowner that I'm speaking of, who lost his home at least 6 years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, under the Raffaelli case, he would still be able to file a claim because of the language barrier. Can I bring this person down to Wayne County Treasurer's Office and file a claim?
if they file a claim, it will be denied because of the fact it's before the law was changed. So that person may or may not have a claim based on how this litigation goes, our mediation goes.
But I thought we were waiting for a final decision on the Raffaelli case, and that's why a lot of homeowners were just sitting on the sideline and waiting to see what happens.
Well, what we're waiting for is to determine whether or not if it's retroactive, first of all,
Yeah.
and if it's retroactive, how far back do we have to go? So it could be that we only have to go back 2 years, could maybe 2019 and 18. Maybe we have to go back 4 years. You know,
When do we expect a decision as to the retroactivity
Well,
of the?
there's 2 cases before the state of Michigan Supreme Court, a Hathon case and a Schaefer case. And those 2 cases have been, the Supreme Court decided to hear the cases, but we don't expect a decision for some months.
Okay,
We don't expect to hear a decision for months. Where we're settling is a particular case in Wayne County that's in mediation. We're trying to settle it, but it's very difficult right now.
okay, thank you.
Okay, I call on Commissioner Baker McCormick.
Just one last question, I think. So, this is a very sensitive matter when someone loses their home. So we have a lot of questions around this. The exemption you talked about for veterans and also for those that income fall below a certain threshold. The lower threshold is not based on your age, right? It's just based on your financial
Just
situation,
income, yes.
hardship.
Yes, not age.
Okay, and for those hardships, for veterans, I know they used to have to file every year. Is that still the case
I know
for
there's
the
either
exemption?
legislation that either just passed or has been proposed that would not require an annual filing. But I'm not sure if something passed or if it's just proposed, if
Okay,
it's in the committee or not. Because it was something that said that once you got the exemption, you wouldn't have to do it for
3 years.
3
or something
years.
like
I
that.
don't know if that passed or not.
Yeah, because I think it's a hardship, especially if you're a veteran or a senior that's 80 years old that has to continuously file a form when they're not most likely going to go back to work or anything like that. So, okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. So, any additional questions so far? Okay, so, Madam Clerk, you read items 1 through 5 into the record.
Yes.
Can you read item 6 into the record? Because item 4 is related to item 6.
Item 6, requesting commission approval of a resolution authorizing the transfer of $20 million to the county general fund for fiscal year 2023-2024.
Thank you. Mr. Treasurer, Mr. Treasurer, item number 4.
Number 4, Ms. Thomas, you want to talk about that one?
So in your packet, you should have received an analysis of the delinquent tax revolving funds where we show how much cash we have on hand, and then we allocate that cash to restricted areas. One which we spoke with about earlier being the probable litigation of $113 million. Then we have to pledge funds to cover the bonds for next year's for any of the delinquencies that a city would turn over, and we would pay them through the notes process, which you guys have approved in the past. Then also we have restricted cash of about $26 million, and that is primarily from the current notes. So as you're aware, any cash collected is actually restricted because of our note covenant. So we cannot disperse those funds to the county. In addition to that, we have our operating expenses in forfeiture and foreclosure for the year, as well as statutory amounts for foreclosure activities that are restricted. So what we're looking at doing is we have the current year allocation of $30 million, which was transferred to the general fund, which leaves us about $20 million to transfer over for next fiscal year.
Okay. So we understand that you holding back money as it relates to the litigation. Also, there's statutory requirements associated with expenditures or whatnot. And then there's covering the bonds for next year.
Yeah.
Outside of that, those statutory and those other required holdbacks, let me ask you, is there a formula or how do you determine that little small, sounds like a small amount of dollars? Is there a formula that's utilized to determine how much money will come over to the county general fund, or is it just a culmination of a number of things?
Well, if you, in the analysis, we point out that it's really the amount of cash available, less those items that are restricted. So that gets down to the 20 million.
Okay, so the determination as relates to the money being held back for the lawsuits, how was that determined based upon claim indications and or whatnot?
Not only claim indications, but in terms of properties that were sold in the past years. How much is going to be claimed by any property tax owner. So we looked at what we've collected over the years. So this is going back to, 2003, 2004, what we have accumulated, so that if the law now allows for you to retro back to like 2004, 2005, we have funds available, which is best for the county, because if we don't have those funds available, then we would have to have an assessment on the taxpayers. So I think this is a better approach.
Yeah, I do too.
Okay.
So oftentimes, as we're in the budget process, is there a way, and I'll ask, because oftentimes there is some conversation, reflection, anticipation of money coming from the delinquent tax revolving fund. But is there a way to earlier in the process, because we're talking in this meeting about the development of the budget timelines and those things there, is there a way to early on in the process begin to determine what would be an estimation or a guesstimation of what should or should not be included or expected to be going into the next year's budget?
Well, I think a lot of this is really dependent upon what happens in the courts, right? Until we have a stronger understanding of what direction this is going to go into, I think the more conservative approach is to retain those funds that we know have exposure.
I agree.
So that's the process. So to your point, or your question rather, we are constantly looking at that reserve, understanding what's happening in the courts to determine how much we can release. So that's part of it.
Also, it would depend on the foreclosures each year. We look how many properties get foreclosed and what percentage of people actually file claims. And right now we have a small percentage of taxpayers who are losing their properties who are filing claims. It's very small. Most people either don't pay attention to we send out a postcard, by the way.
I was going to ask that.
So every taxpayer that loses their property and letting them know they have until July 1st to file a claim. So some people probably throw it in the garbage. Some people don't procrastinate and go past July 1st. So as the number of taxpayers increase who file claims, I'm sure that we'll have to hold back a little bit more for that process, because we don't know until we get foreclosures until July 1st how many people file claims. On July 1st, we will know the potential exposure that we have. We would know then. So
Thank you. Okay, and as I said, the related item on the agenda for item number 4 is the actual resolution transferring the $20 million that you just referenced referenced at this meeting. So, so let's go to 5.
let's see.
I'll just noting that.
Yeah, we have transferred the property sale proceeds report. This is the auction report that we sent also explaining what proceeds came from the sale of the properties. And
Okay.
this is the report that we have to also give the state of Michigan.
Okay. Thank you. And so item number 6 is the resolution referencing related to the $20 million transfer. Okay, let's see. And thank you. I think this concludes your report. Are there any additional questions on why we have the treasurer here for any of the items that are any of these reports or the resolution? Any questions? Commissioner Bedun?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. I want to thank you again on the record for working with many homeowners in Wayne County to try to keep them in their homes. I know this is the last thing the county treasurer's office wants to do is to get people out of their homes. So I want to take this opportunity and thank you and all of your staff for helping keep people in their homes.
Okay, thank you.
And I want to highlight that, piggyback on what you said, you have, just from my experience, you have gone over the call of responsibility, even when folks have made clear neglect when it came to them ignoring notification and all sorts of things. But your office has worked very, very hard to try to resolve. So I absolutely, and I'm not sure about the other commissioner, but I know as Commissioner Bedun, you've been very helpful for folks who have called me in stress and trying to keep their properties
We have a great staff.
in distress.
Thank you for that. We have a great staff and they really believe in what we're trying to do. So it works. I want to just mention one thing, Mr. Chairman. Also, in addition to what we're doing, what we reported on here, we did send our report for our investments to the committee in our year-end report. And we had a record earnings this year of almost $55 million in interest earnings just off investments. And that it's largely due to, 3 things. As I mentioned, we have a lot of unspent ARPA funds, which are obligated but unspent. So we're investing, we have about $1.8 billion in our portfolio, which is a little higher than usual, much higher than usual. The interest rates have gone up and substantially, so we're doing well. And we're making smart, wise business decisions as far as our investments. But the 3 things have contributed to a record earnings for the interest earnings for Wayne County.
I just asked staff to have it on Tuesday's agenda. We're going to have a 9:30 meeting on Tuesday. I just asked staff to have that included on the agenda.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Just wanted to say, I'll be very brief. I know I've complimented you on your office on what you've done to try to keep people in their homes. But both the comments, I'll just say ditto.
Hey, thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Commissioner Scott?
Goodness. Thank you so much, because he comes out to all of our communities and stuff and work with all of us. So thank you so much. Not only do you do the work, but you're just a good person.
Thank you. Thank you, and happy holidays to everyone too.
Thank you. Thank you. Madam Clerk, next item.
I Item number 7, requesting commissioner approval of budget adjustment 2023-35-225, certifying revenue in the Third Circuit Court Capital Projects Fund in the Circuit Court Fund.
Are there any questions associated with this item? Okay, let me ask, is there any questions?
Commissioner Anderson.
Okay, is there anyone here who is able to respond to questions for this item? Anyone here who can respond?
Hi, yes, Mr. Chair, Linda Roberts, Chief Financial Officer for the Third Circuit Court.
Good afternoon, Ms. Roberts. One moment, please, Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you. I just wanted to get a little clarification on this. This is a fund. Money is being transferred from a court fund. The county is not contributing from its fund balance in this, correct? And someone could address that. And also, if this move into the Penobscot building is going to necessitate another move to the CJC for the parking lot, are they going to, let's see. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. That's number 8. But I did want to get a clarification on number 7. I'm sorry. That is for the next item number 8.
No problem. Okay, are there any additional questions for item number 7? Ms. Roberts, if you can stay on, because I believe you would be the person to answer item number 8. Any additional questions? Madam Clerk, next item.
Item number 8, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2023-35-155, certifying revenue in the capital programs fund.
Commissioner Anderson.
I was just concerned as to whether or not we're going to have another move once the CJC is complete, or is this just a one-time move to the from Lincoln Hall of Justice to the Penobscot building?
Ms. Roberts, would you state your name again, and would you be able to respond?
Yes, hi, Lynn Roberts, Chief Financial Officer for the Third Circuit Court. The move that was initiated for this transaction was related to Building C. We had one of our units, the Family Assessment Services Group, that occupied Building C. The county approached the court and asked if we could, they were going to demolish Building C as well as Building D, which was the old juvenile detention facility. And we needed a period of time to move those staff. So it was a subset of court staff at Lincoln Hall of Justice that moved to the Penobscot. This was a one-time move. The staff in the Penobscot are not moving to the CJC, but there are discussions about the need for the court to have a consolidated courthouse at some point, or a couple facilities. But at this particular time, this is a one-time move, and the county agreed to cover the cost of that move.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any additional questions? Any additional questions? Madam Clerk, next item.
Item 9, requesting commissioner approval of budget adjustment 2023-35-171, reallocating expenditures in the retirement systems fund.
Are there any questions? Are there any questions? Madam Clerk, next item.
Item 10, requesting commissioner approval of budget adjustment 2023-35-148, decertifying revenue in the HHS nutrition fund.
Are there any questions? Are there any questions? Next item, Madam Clerk.
Item 11, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2024-35020, reallocating expenditures in the general fund.
Are there any questions? Are there any questions? Madam Clerk, next item.
Item 12, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2024-35021, reallocating expenditures in the general fund.
Are there any questions? Are there any questions? Next item.
Item 13, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2023-35-177, reallocating expenditures in the general fund.
Are there any questions? Are there any questions? Next item, Madam Clerk.
Item 14, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2023-35-232, reallocating expenditures in the general fund.
Are there any questions? Are there any questions? Next item.
Item 15, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2024-35035, certifying revenue in the county health fund.
Are there any questions? Are there any questions? Next item.
Item 16, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2023-35204, reallocating expenditures in the general fund.
Are there any questions? At this time, so item 16, at this time, I would like to ask Mr. Dwayne Seals, the Deputy County Clerk to approach. Please state your name, your title.
Hello, everyone.
Good afternoon.
My name is Dwight
Yes.
Seals, Chief Deputy Clerk. One of the, Madam Clerk here.
Is your mic on? It doesn't sound as if it is.
Oh, maybe I turned, oh, sorry. How's that better? Hello, my name is Dwayne Seals. I'm Chief Deputy Clerk for the Honorable Kathy M. Garrett. Clerk Kathy M. Garrett. I'm here this morning with you to point out number 16, that budget adjustment. That was placed here. We had submitted that back in May of 2023, last fiscal year. We did not receive those computers. This budget adjustment was for receiving new computers. We did not receive those computers, so I'm not for sure why this budget adjustment is still here at this time.
Okay, may I ask, is there anyone here from the administration who can answer that question? Okay.
Morning, Rob Whittigan, Chief Deputy Financial Officer, Management and Budget, which I apologize, which item are we on?
Item 16.
16.
No, we never received those computers because the budget adjustment was not in.
I mean, would it be best to request withdrawal from the agenda?
Okay, without objection, from staff or commission, that item is withdrawn. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Also, since we're withdrawing, without objection, well, let's go. Madam Clerk, next item.
Item 17, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2023-35-124, reallocating expenditures in the Juvenile Justice Abuse Neglect Fund.
Are there any questions? Item number 18, without objection, will also be withdrawn from the agenda. Madam Clerk, next item.
We're moving to the Item 19, discussion with Management and Budget Department regarding the budget.
You were correct. You should have stayed off. Okay. Okay, at this time, I recognize management and budget. Oh, no, before that, we're going to go to the addenda. I forget we have an addenda, and then I'll come back to you for the discussion. Madam Clerk, let's go to the addenda.
Okay, we're on item 20 of the addenda. A communication requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2024-35017, reallocating expenditures in the general fund.
Are there any questions? Next item.
Item 21, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2023-35197, reallocating expenditures in the retirement system fund.
Are there any questions? Next item.
Item 22, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2023-35068, reallocating expenditures in the retirement system fund. Excuse me.
Are there any questions? Next item.
Item 23, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2024-35031, reallocating expenditures in the jail commissary fund.
Are there any questions? Next item.
Item 24, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2023-35274, decertifying revenue in the capital project fund.
Are there any questions? Next item.
Item 25, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2024-35029, reallocating expenditures in the general fund.
Are there any questions? Next item.
Item 26, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2023-35295, reallocating expenditures in the central service fund.
Are there any questions? Next item.
We are returning to the agenda. Item 19, discussion with Management and Budget Department regarding the budget preparation process schedule for the fiscal year 2024-2025.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So we during the last budget process, talked about the desire to bring the budget process in line with charter dates charter dates. Wanted to just get an update from you as relates to how now that you all have gotten in there and pretty much become familiar with county processes, how do you feel that you're able to meet those deadlines, and how are you preparing for the budget for presentation pursuant to those dates? And then I also had some other questions after you answer that question as it relates to implementation of the current budget.
All right, good afternoon. Again, Rob Whittigan, Chief Deputy Financial Officer, MMB. So thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. The county charter, which I have here, does provide us with the rules that govern us at the county. And in the charter, there are deadlines that guide how the budget and appropriation ordinance shall be prepared and submitted. MMB has yet to meet those deadlines in some time. So I'm not here to talk about the past, but we can obviously cannot control that, but we can work to improve our, as you mentioned, processes and meet those deadlines moving forward. Today in the back, I do have our Deputy Budget Director, Gregory McIntyre. He's here with us, but together since he's come on board, we have been reviewing the charter and drafting a schedule based on the needs MMB has. So for example, we believe that in order for us to succeed, we must do a few things. One, professionally develop staff, empower our budget analysts, review and tweak budget assumptions as needed, budget template as needed, which we're building a $2 billion budget in Excel. So there's some tweaks needed. A pre-planned department revenue projections. So I'm talking about, look at our assumptions, actuals, et cetera, well ahead of time. Review questions from you all and other commissioners from last budget cycle and try to prepare and see the reoccurring questions that you have to prepare and be more timely with questions for the upcoming budget cycle. And then we also need to look at and assess the reasonableness of the budget that we submit to you. So does this accurately account for contracts in all departments, headcounts, travel, et cetera? So that's to list a few. But the charter states that the CEO shall transmit the comprehensive budget to the counties for the county's next fiscal year to the county commissioners at least 120 days before the fiscal year. And that comes out to around June 2nd or 3rd of each year. So that is obviously our goal to meet the charter. The draft timeline that we are reviewing, and again, it is a draft. We're still reviewing it internally, but we're reviewing the draft timeline, but it's predicated on having our budget director in place, which is still a vacant position, and being fully staffed. We do have additional budgeteers that have come on board since the last budget cycle. Additional budget analyst, which is actually Baiju, he's in the room with us as well. But we do, we still have the vacant, one more vacant analyst position, and obviously the vacant budget director position. But to your point, Chairperson Kemlock, ultimately we must minimize the errors, delays, and the frustrations that came with the last budget cycle.
Thank you. There are some earlier dates and requirements in the charter as well. The January 1st, I believe the policy statement and some other notate within that budgetary process outlined in the charter. Those dates as well,
Yes, correct. Our policy statement, that's due at least 9 months before the next fiscal year. So I think that falls on the 20th or 31st or the 1st.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. So you're keeping all those dates in mind as well.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. And a couple of questions as it relates to this was my first budget sharing as well as you, both the director and yourself were new to this process. So the budget passed. There were a couple of items in the budget. We brought up an item dealing with the road fund, in which we're going to and request it, and I'll be circling back with public service about developing an ordinance with our legal team and corp counsel. But also there is some funds in which we've been talking about associated with what I like to call the weed whacker. So there was some that was in the budget. It was a high priority from the commission, and the administration agreed, to move that forward. What's the status of that? I guess that purchase and communication with the appropriate department.
Yeah, I've been in communication with both Mr. Adams and then Director Kandrivas about that. And so we're looking at, obviously there was a weed harvester, weed whacker in the past that was loaned out, so we're looking at was there a policy set by the commissioners? What was the authority that allowed us to loan this out to the community? So we're reviewing that and then hopefully working with you all to say, okay, we're going to purchase the weed harvester, but we should have X, Y, and Z policies in place.
Intergovernmental agreement.
An IG, yeah, an
Absolutely.
intergovernmental agreement, exactly. So to your point, I do need to circle back up with the director to see what we both feel are next steps to get something before you quickly.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, are there any questions? That was just a general discussion associated with the development of the budget and the timelines required by the charter. I will recognize our council.
Through the chair to this honorable body, just one comment with regards to the timelines for the submission of the budget. It was noted that in the past, historically, the county has not met those deadlines. I just wanted to be clear for the record that does not invalidate any vote or any budget that has been adopted by this body. As you'll see from the charter, those deadlines, while they are put in place for certain reasons, if they are not met, it does not invalidate the budget. So every budget that has been passed by this body in the past, despite the deadlines, is valid. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarity for the record, for any individuals listening out there. Thank you again. And I know this is a high priority as it relates to you and trying to meet those deadlines, even though not meeting them doesn't impact the legal authority to adopt a budget. Yep.
It just impacts the amount of gray hairs we all have.
Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda.
Item F, such other matters as may be properly submitted before the committee.
Oh, no, excuse me. At this time, entertain a motion. As it relates to the receive and file as well as the action items.
I will make a motion, Mr. Chair, to move items 1 through 26 to the full board for full consideration, with items 1 through 5 being receive and file. And we understand that items 16 and 18 have been withdrawn.
Is there support? Been moved and supported. Please vote on your tablet.
Motion carries.
Next item.
Item F, such other matters as may be properly submitted before the committee.
I know of none. Next item.
Item G, public comments.
At this time, I'd like for you to unmute for individuals on Zoom. And I'd like to ask if there's anyone on Zoom who would like to be recognized to speak and address this committee. If you are, please raise your hand.
There are no hands on Zooms.
At this time, I would like to ask, were there any emails or any other communications within chat or no?
No emails or no chats were received.
I'd like to ask if there's anyone here who would like to address this committee to please come up to the mic or to the table. There being none, Madam Clerk, next item.
Item H, adjournment.
Motion is in order.